Boy, things sure have changed in video games since I was a child. Growing up, the heroes of games and protagonists in general were action heroes akin to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Otherwise, they would be cute characters or young kids who obtained powers, or who went on epic journeys that we would fantasize about when playing outside. But today, well, it seems that anybody can star in their own video game, and this is evident by the game that we're featuring today. Millie and Molly are two silver-haired grannies who are on a mission to clear every stage of the villainous teddy bears and bugs who have taken up residence in their cartridge. The question is, should you embark on this adventure with these great grannies, or should they have stayed in the nursing home and left the starring roles of video games to the muscle-bound madmen of yesteryear? Let's find out. Millie and Molly was released by atariage in 2023 at PRGE, and recently, as of March of 2025, the atariage web store copies have started shipping and getting into the hands of gamers everywhere. It's a port of the Commodore 64 Homebrew, developed by Carlton Handy, and published by Bitmapsoft, with the 7800 port being done by Matthew Smith, Mark Sarna, Bobby Clark on the music, and QA work being done by Robert Tuchito? I'm sorry, Robert. And Steve Ramirez. I believe they are collectively working under the name Chunky Pixel for this release and possible future releases. And if you follow the Atari 7800 homebrew scene, or lurk around the atariage forums, then you don't need me to tell you that these are some very talented homebrew devs on the console. Anyway, Millie and Molly doesn't really have a story to speak of, and it isn't needed either. This is a sort of single-screen platforming puzzle game, with some really cool mechanics that are unique on the Atari 7800. You will take control of either Millie, Molly, or the two at the same time, as you clear every screen of enemies in an effort to make it as far as possible into the game. And it uses a smart, 6-digit password system to allow you to pick up where you left off, which you're going to need if you want to see the later levels. And that's because there are 100 levels to clear in this game. That's a lot of bang for your buck, so if you're into these kinds of games, then the value is certainly here. But how does Millie and Molly play? Well, how fortuitous that you asked, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. You might expect to run, attack, jump, and platform typical to other games in the genre, as you clear the levels. But remember, these ladies are in their golden years. They don't jump, they don't run, and they don't swat bad guys with a cane. They simply walk. That's it. Your attack is to walk into the side of the defenseless enemies who are minding their own business. Or maybe they're loitering. Yeah, that's it. They're loitering. They're guilty of loitering. And you must stop them at all costs. Anyway, Millie and Molly can't die, no matter what they touch or run into. And it would be pointless for them to do so anyway. And that's because they have the ability to stop and rewind time. That's right. Similar to games like Braid, you can rewind past a recent mistake and fix the errors of your past. And it makes for a very smart and ultimately unique way of doing things. You'll need to traverse ladders, sand piles, rocks, and hovering platforms in order to clear every level. Holding the left button rewinds things on the fly, while a short press will switch between the two silver-haired heifers if they are both available. Holding the right button allows for you to access the menu that's always shown on the right side of the screen. And here you can once again choose to rewind, start the level over, exit the level, and of course, go back to playing. It all makes for a gameplay experience that is unique, fun, and dare I say challenging. The game pulls you in, and before you know it, you've sunk an hour or two into the early easy levels, and you start to get into the meat and potatoes of Millie and Molly. I have a feeling that even if you aren't normally fans of this genre, its charm and unique time-altering abilities will at least intrigue you enough to sink some time into their adventure. It's incredibly rewarding to be stuck on a level and finally see the answer appear before you and clear the stage. And of course, you are rewarded with yet a more difficult and challenging level for your efforts. And I couldn't be happier about that. Using the ladders, the falling rocks, barrels, and other movable objects, and the enemies themselves to make new platforms accessible is simply great. And addictive. But it's the game's presentation that really drives home what a unique and fun experience that this game really is. The 7800 isn't known for great audio, but you wouldn't know that if this was your first experience on the system. Of course, the cartridge has some help in the form of the Pokey, or probably Hokey chip in this scenario, that is doing some of the heavy lifting with the audio. But Hokey, Pokey, or Nopey, it doesn't matter, because the sound is robust and just very well done. The tune that plays when you clear a level is just so perfect, and I couldn't be happier to hear this sound coming out of my Pro system. Bobby Clark really outdid himself here, and I understand that it's all pokey renditions of the C64 SID chip music, but all that aside, it's still just great. I'm in love with the sound here, and it's such a treat to listen to. Graphically, the game is fine too. The girls look as you would expect, and the enemies and environments look great. It all reminds me of NES-style graphics, if I'm honest, but they're probably more akin to Commodore 64 stuff. You know, since this is a port of a Commodore 64 Homebrew and all. Personally, I think the girls look a little odd on the password screen, but hey, that's really just me nitpicking. The game looks great, it plays great, and God, it sounds amazing. I think we all know I'm going to give Millie and Molly a high score, but let's head into the old folks' home, known as the pros and cons section, and see how high Millie and Molly can get in their old age. For the pros, I want to start with the music and sound. It's just superb. Excellent stuff, especially for the Atari 7800. The game looks decent too, and I like most of the graphics. But the gameplay, well, the gameplay is excellent. The girls can't do much, but the time-altering elements are well implemented, and they add a nice layer of depth. Heck, it even makes the game more approachable in my opinion. There is a lot of game here, and it should take most people some time to clear all 100 levels of Millie and Molly, and the password system is really well done. But I do have some cons, and let's start with the gameplay. It's probably going to be hard for some people to come to grips with the fact that these old bats can't jump or fight. And that's fine, it's worth learning how to utilize ladders and barrels to achieve your goals. But I'm sure it will turn off some closed-minded gamers. And Millie and Molly look a little odd on the password screen, but that doesn't count for much, especially when they look good everywhere else. So after weighing the pros and cons, I have no hesitation in giving Millie and Molly, for the Atari 7800 Pro system, 4 Pro-Line controllers out of 5. This game is excellent, and it might get lost among the other amazing titles available over at atariage, but you shouldn't ignore these great grandmas. And I mean, they're great, and they're grandmas. Not great-grandmas. I mean, I guess they could be great-grandmas. I'm losing the point. Anyway, don't skip over Millie and Molly, especially if you love platforming puzzle games. But you've all heard what I had to say. Now I want to hear from all of you. Have you tried Millie and Molly? Do you agree with my score or my review? If not, where did I lose the plot at? And if you haven't played it, do you think you'd be willing to give it a try? Also, have you played the Commodore 64 original? And if so, how does this one compare to that? Let me know about all this and so much more in the comments down below. Also, some of you may notice that we no longer have a Patreon or YouTube memberships. This channel is completely supported with likes, comments, and of course subscriptions. So if you enjoyed the content, then doing any one of those things helps out a ton. And I can't thank you all enough for the support. And with that, it's time to wrap up another review here on the channel. I've been the 7800 Pro Gamer, a man who loves his grandma, and visits her at the old folks' home known as the Atari Network weekly. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. And please remember to stay classy, Atarians.